All right. So we want to thank everyone for coming. Again, my name is Dr. Pamela Grayson. And tonight we have an interesting conversation for you. This one's going to be eye-opening. It's going to be enlightening. It's going to teach us all things that we most likely previously didn't know, challenge perceptions that you have and that are completely incorrect. And we're going to really make people respect others' choices and respect the humanity in anyone's choices, regardless of what they are. So tonight we have my friend, Miss Anon. And Miss Anon is what we would call a sex worker. And correct me, Miss Anon, if I say anything that is not correct.
Okay.
Because I'm learning too. Now, let me explain. The vision for this came about when myself and, well, Miss Anon made a post on social media indicating she wished there were things that people knew. Now, let's look at the history of this thing. People have denigrated sex workers for years. I would say since close to the beginning of time. Probably the first time somebody got married, mad because somebody else was with somebody else, whatever. Um, if you would look at it, one of the key instances, and again, I'm the pastor's daughter, a licensed minister myself, and one of the key instances is in the Bible that just kind of irritates me is when you look at, her name is Rahab the harlot. And so Rahab is known as the harlot. But what irritates me is that Rahab came into the Bible because she was housing two Shittim spies that were scoping the land for Jeremiah. No one ever questions why those Shittim spies were at Rahab's house. And that's the part that kind of gets the angst out of me. We will have her remembered for her occupation, but you don't say anything to the men that supported the occupation. And that to me is wrong. Some of the perceptions that are out there is that, everyone that ends up in sex work has had a bad life. Or they couldn't make better choices. It's really looked at as a skid row or a bad occupation. And so Miss Anon is going to work with us tonight to give us a better perspective on this. So Miss Anon, what I'm going to do is have you introduce yourself, tell people what you want them to know, and expound your vision of what you want people to glean from this teaching.
Hi, I'm Miss Anon. I've been in sex work for 5 years now. I was a dominatrix, a cam girl, a sugar baby, and a stripper. I've done almost everything that you can under the sun when it comes to sex work. What I really want people to understand is even if they still harbor some type of negative feelings towards sex work, they still understand that voicing these opinions and creating this discrimination against sex workers creates material issues for us that only further push us away from society and make our lives more dangerous and difficult, and in turn push us towards these sex trafficking myths that people believe that everyone in the industry is in. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. We kind of drive you further away from society's judgment into your work.
Yeah. Where do I want to start?
I would like to hear how you got involved, and then I'm curious as to what instances in your daily life put you in a position to be judged and ostracized.
Okay, so I got into sex work when I was 18. I didn't have a lot of financial support from my mother or father or grandmother. None of them were really in a position to support me, and I had quite a few siblings that I had to take care of as well. And it was the easiest and most accessible occupation I could get into at that point. I started out as an online dominatrix.
Can you explain what that is for people that may not know?
So, an online dominatrix is an assertive and sometimes aggressive woman who dominates in personality and power. You know how every relationship has a power dynamic. Um, so she'll dominate the power dynamic of the relationship, and depending on what the client wants, she'll either degrade them, uh, make them spend money, make them do all kinds of things that are seen as either humiliating or embarrassing or weak. Um, and usually, this gives men or women a space where they can freely express the kinks that they have in their sexual fantasies without feeling judged. Um, and so, because this is such a niche interest, that's how dominatrixes are paid. They either require like a tribute, or they'll require a payment per session. A lot of dominatrix are not full service, and for those that don't know, full service means actual sexual intercourse. But that's usually where the line is drawn. Dominatrix usually ride along the line of sexual therapy because it gives these men that space that they need to freely express themselves and work through possibly some past traumas that they had.
Mm. So, how does one, like, say, hypothetically speaking, if I want to become a dominatrix, how do I get there?
There are multiple avenues to get through. There's quite a few websites that you can work on, or you can network with other dominatrixes and work that way. It's a lot harder to market yourself as a dominatrix freely and publicly because of online censorship and also just like a negative connotation towards any type of sex work. Yeah.
How did you get involved in sex work?
There were a lot of different avenues that pushed me towards the different sectors of sex work that I've been into. So, being a dominatrix, I just kind of stumbled into it. I got a random message from a man on Facebook. He wanted me to do XYZ. I won't get into the specifics of it, but he would give me some money so that way I could pay my bills and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? Party City is not paying very well right now, so let me go ahead and do this so I can pay some of my bills. And then after that, I realized that there was an entire online community of other women who were doing the same thing, and how it was a regular thing, and how I could network myself that way and brand myself like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
you made an active choice.
Oh, for sure. There was never a push. There was never a point where someone said, do this or you'll die. Or I don't know. I don't know what anyone's perception of how women
What,
are forced into sex work happens.
from what I believe, I think they feel that they've had rough lives and they're on drugs and they just have low character and low morale because they don't give this particular occupation the status of being an occupation.
That's very true. I know, I would say a majority of the women that I work with now are straight edge. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do drugs. They go to work, get their money, go home, go to sleep. That's it.
And see, most think that particular person is an anomaly. They think most are what the perception is, that there's drugs and just impoverishment in everything. But you know, the movie that came out few years ago with Jennifer Lopez and Cussler.
Yes.
That was a true story. And those women were living the life till they got caught. I mean, that's what they did. They had homes. They took care of children and did what they had to do. And then let me ask you this. Has the pandemic increased participation in sex work?
There are a lot more workers and a lot fewer clients. Fewer people have money and more girls need money. I would say the influx has really moved towards OnlyFans and campsites like that because it's safer. You're not in proximity to other people, but there are more girls in the club as well, which is it's worrying to have that influx of new girls because it's kind of part of the culture of strippers to help initiate babies. We call them baby strippers into the lifestyle so that way they can do this safely and freely and smartly, you know. So to have this many babies at one point in time becomes worrying because there's a lot of men that will take advantage of these girls who aren't aware of how to maintain their what's the word? Not empowerment, their agency. So there are men that'll take advantage of these baby strippers who don't understand how to maintain that agency in everything that they do and force them into situations where they're either scammed out of the money that they're owed for their service or they're forced into situations that are not right. So it's worrying to have this many babies at one point in time. I think as the economy gets better, there will be fewer girls who are dancing because there are quite a few sex workers who are only in it for the money. That's it. They don't enjoy it, but they are put in a financial situation. I think once the pandemic is over and the economy is back to normal, everything will relax again.
Oh gosh, I think that would be so hard to have to do this job and you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, but there are plenty of jobs that people do that they don't enjoy as well. I think I would hate having an office job way more than I would hate stripping.
Truthful, me too. So what are the dangers associated with the profession?
So there's the potential of having a violent client. There's the potential of having stalkers. There's the potential of having clients who drug your drinks and contact your family members and tell them what you're doing. There's the dangers of possibly getting aligned with the wrong kind of people who will push you towards sex trafficking. Not to say that escorting is wrong, or being a full service worker is wrong, but there are situations that girls are pushed into where they're not given agency, and there's male management who tells them what to do and gathers their money, and a pimp, pretty much.
Yeah, that would be.
So those are some of the dangers, and usually people would be able to go to the police about these kind of things, but when you're a sex worker, you're immediately blamed for anything and everything because you let them on, or it's all the slut shaming things that women hear on a regular basis when they go to the police about something that a man did to them, but 10 times worse.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you worked at Party City.
Mm-hmm. It was
and
awful.
So you decided to go into this one, to this occupation, to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in school or anything?
Yeah, I went through school. I've graduated. I still don't want to use my degree because I have more freedom with sex work. I make more money. I control my own body and my hours and everything like that. So I would prefer to stay in sex work rather than work the degree job that I could possibly get.
And we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you mind sharing with us what you make annually?
On a bad year, I make about $70K. On a regular year, I make about $100K to $120K a year.
I'm in the wrong profession. Oh, so myself and some of my colleagues, we put together a math book. And so all of these, on a good year, you do all of these professions. These are considered reputable professions. Mm-hmm. A computer programmer, construction manager, computer programmer, a mobile application developer. They come in at 107. You can hit 120. A registered nurse, video game designer, cardiovascular tech. Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at you. Mm-hmm. So you make good money. You work when you want to. You're your own boss, and you do it your own way.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask the hard questions now.
Okay.
I think the issue that most women have with sex workers is basically these workers can potentially entertain their interests or their husbands. First of all, that's not your fault, because the husband knew they had an obligation before they met you.
Right.
Have you ever gotten caught up in any of those types of situations?
I have, and it was really sad, and it hurt me to find out afterwards that a marriage was ruined and I was involved. I won't blame myself because I don't believe there's a such thing as a home wrecker. Someone had to open the door,
Ooh, that was deep right there. No such thing as a home wrecker because somebody had to open it. Girl, that was deep right there. Yeah. That was it. And that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. But you are right. You are right. And that's the truth.
And so in that situation, I felt awful. I helped the wife get all the information she needed, and I'm pretty sure they're in the middle of the divorce proceedings right now. But that was a difficult situation. That hurt. I don't
So
I
this
don't
is
feel
just
good.
recently?
That was not recently. No, it was about a
Oh,
year ago.
okay, but they're going through a divorce now?
I believe so. I haven't talked to
Okay.
her since then.
But I guess did you know?
No.
Then
No.
I mean, because to me, if you didn't know, you were just doing your job.
Right.
And so she should have assessed why he was out there in the first place.
Right. And I was lucky because she blamed him for the whole situation.
Good, good, good.
But the wives that do blame sex workers, I don't text random men and tell them to come into the strip club. They walked in on their own 2 feet with their wedding probably still on. If you set a boundary and you two said that he's not allowed to go to the strip club, then that's between y'all. I'm not involved.
And that is the absolute truth. And if people would realize that, um, and like I said, because I was raised in the church, I gotta ask: have you ever had any encounter with Christians and I use that term loosely, because I know somebody that knows God, but I don't like a lot of Christians. But have you had any encounter with the church?
The church will come by every once in a while and drop off support bags / goodie bags that kind of just give a subtle hint that the church is there for them. They yet to be aggressive towards us. It's I know it's in good love and faith, and they're usually under the impression that the girls in the club are kind of stuck, you know. But
well,
not really.
That's what I'm talking about. The general society thinks that no one chooses this industry. They think that it's something that they have to do because they can't do anything else, or again, strung out on drugs, or that's just the way they were raised, impoverished, and figured this was all that they could do. That's not the case. Students do use this or participate in this occupation to pay for college and other things. But the reality of it is you did the same thing, and you figured out that, hey, I can go to my degree and make this much and be somebody else's. Basically, you're building someone else's dream. You're there on their schedule. They control your destiny. They control your progression. They control your lives because you live around their schedule. Or I can do this. And for me, I would say I'm good at it. I enjoy it. I make much more money and I get to keep my own schedule.
Yeah.
And people don't see that.
Right.
Because we don't give this hustle the respect it deserves. Now, something you said that interested me. It was an article I saw where a young lady, on OnlyFans, she was making $10,000 a month crawling around on the floor like a sex puppy.
Yeah.
So when people see this, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go get an OnlyFans page. And I don't know that they have a full respect for the hustle. What are your thoughts on that?
I think a lot of people see these great success stories and they think that OnlyFans is going to be amazing money immediately, but you also hear all of these success stories about other businesses, but you don't see anybody setting up like a juice shop or, another type of Amazon. And that's because they don't see sex work as an actual business. When you're doing what that woman is doing with the puppy play, that's a niche that she had to research and market herself and brand herself as something that these people would enjoy. And that's not easy. It's an entirely new type of brand.
Well, let me ask you this. What does your family think about this?
Say that again?
What does your family think about your profession?
Pretty much everybody in my family knows. My grandmother knows. My mother knows. My mother was a stripper for a while, so it's not a big deal to her. But my grandmother was raised Christian, and she's learned to accept it. She still worries about my safety, but she understands.
And your siblings?
My siblings are younger than me, and I try not to talk to them about it because it feels like I'm crossing a weird boundary. I don't like to talk about sexual things with my siblings. And so because my work is sexual, I don't talk to them about it.
Okay. And I understand that and I respect it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you able to maintain romantic relationships of your own?
What did you say?
Are you able to? Yeah. Sounds like you're kind of in a hole, but we can hear you.
Hold on 1 second. I'm having issues. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So, maintaining relationships is a little difficult sometimes. There's insecurities. It requires a lot of trust. And it requires a lot of confidence in my partners and a lot of reassurance. I've been able to maintain like mostly normal relationships, but I won't lie, it has definitely been an issue before. It has ruined some of my relationships before. But I always try and stay open and honest communication about everything that I'm doing with my work.
Okay. It is harder to hear you now.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, but it sounds like you're getting farther and farther away. Okay. So now, when you have the personal relationship, do you always feel like having sex with that person? Are you tired from getting home from work, or are you able to maintain balance?
Because I'm not service, I feel like it's a lot easier for me to maintain a normal sexual relationship with my partner. There are days where I'm just physically exhausted and don't want to have any type of sexual relation. I feel like that's normal in almost every job that you're going to have. There are just days where you come home and you just want to pass out.
Okay, and I do understand that you are correct on that one. Do you see yourself as being married with children?
Eventually, yeah. I know plenty of sex workers that are married and have children all the way up to my age, and they're still working.
Wow.
It's perfectly possible to have just a normal white picket future, you know?
Okay, give me just a moment. I need to turn up my volume. Okay, now, so let's talk about that. Let's say, okay, I've been doing it for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Is there any like particular wear and tear on the body, or you got to struggle to maintain shape?
Oh my God, yeah. Stripping specifically has been the worst on my body. I keep myself in very tip-top peak physical shape, but constantly being in heels and working the pole and the floor and doing dance all night. It's physical labor, so it's not good on my joints. It's not good on my back. It's not good on my feet. It's exhausting. So it's really important, as if you are planning on sex work being your career, your full-time career for the rest of your life, then it's important that you reinvest into your body constantly. Massages, the IV drips, a good healthy diet, working out, all of that is really important for maintaining your career and your body.
Do you have like a 401k set aside or something for when you do choose to retire?
I've got savings right now. Things are a little weird with COVID and everything like that. I did have to spend quite a bit of savings, considering I wasn't able to work for most of last year. But I do plan on eventually creating 401k, buying a house, which will be incredibly difficult because of the discrimination that sex workers have when it comes to buying homes, because most of our income is in cash.
Oh, I didn't even think about that aspect. But I got to say this, I understand, because I'm a contractor and I have people pay me from other countries for teaching their children in other countries. And yeah, it was hard for me when I decided that, I really didn't want to own a house, but I looked into buying a house, and that's what the financier told me. He told me, he said, just go get a job paying $12 an hour. Just keep it until we get past closing. I said, no, you keep your $12 an hour job. I want my freedom as a contractor, and I'm good, because I don't want to have to pay for repairs and stuff anyway right now. And our state behaves badly when it comes to property taxes. But I didn't think about that. So all of your money is in cash. And so you really don't have a way to. But let me ask you this. You said discrimination. Do you think if your money was more traceable, do you think they would not still give you a home based on your profession?
I think it would be, I'm not sure, because when it comes to renting, I've had issues with landlord discrimination and apartment complex discrimination and things like that. Even though I fully surpassed their income threshold for renting their buildings, and I have regular deposits and everything that they require, they won't let me rent because I don't have a real job much. It's not stable enough for them.
I don't. And you supersede the income threshold. and they still take issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I guess I'm just kind of stunned on that one, because that's the equivalent of what people that look like me face. So I didn't know that that was something they would do as well. And I sure do hate that. I think that's absolutely wrong. You and I came across each other over the summer during all of the protests and so forth. What moved you to join the protests?
Oh, what moved me? I've been following along with the Black Lives Matter movement since, I want to say, right around when Ferguson happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
That was
so
a while back. That was Mike Brown.
I've been aware of it. Yeah, that was long ago. And so when it finally came to our city, I was like, this is the moment. This is where I can finally get involved and we can work together and get some shit going. I was raised in, I'll just say it, I was raised in Houston, and so I saw a lot of racism when I was growing up, and a lot of police brutality, especially from the school that I was into. And then I came up to Dallas, and joining the protest, I slowly realized exactly how whitewashed Dallas is and how unaware of the situation of South Dallas I was. And so it really woke me up.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for hitting those
It really
streets
did.
for folks that look like me. I appreciate you. And I'm very glad our friendship culminated, and so that you could educate and teach me. And I want you to know you have it on video. I support you. I respect your occupation. And I love you.
I love you too.
Just tell the people what you want us to know. Is there anything in particular? Anything that you've seen on social media that's offensive because we don't know any better? Anything we need to know?
Let's see. A lot of us don't particularly care about the bad words. The offensive words don't matter to us at the end of the day. It's more of the attitudes behind them. And also listen to sex workers. When we tell you we don't want to be regulated by the government, please listen to us. We know what we're talking about. We regulate ourselves on a regular basis, and we pay our own taxes. What we want is decriminalization. So that way we can be the owners of our own bodies and also be able to access public services, like the police, without having to worry about being blamed for what we did or being able to get health care. Those things that we want.
So what is the difficulty now in getting health care?
It's expensive. It's so expensive. I'm a single payer, so it was something like $400 a month for me to get health care. I decided not to.
That was through the Affordable Care Act?
Yeah. Yeah. I was on my college's health plan for a while, but now that I'm graduated, I don't really have many options.
But here's the thing: at $120,000 a year, they're going to tag you on the Affordable Health Care Act because it does go by income.
Oh yeah.
So, because I'm thinking, even if, and you've got to realize here in the state of Texas, it is roughly about $700 a head to insure someone, even in a group plan, in a group plan, like an employer group plan. And in the state of Texas, the law says that they can pass along 50% of that cost. So even through an employer, you could very well looking at $350 a month. So I think the healthcare is just expensive. And I hate to say it, but there are the plans like, and again, I am a licensed insurance agent, and I'm just throwing suggestions. But the suggestions, Aflac does have a hospital indemnity plan and an accident plan. If if nothing else is more affordable and you're fairly healthy, maybe you'd want to look at the Aflac plans. Now, I'm not an Aflac agent. I don't know much about them. I used to sell them years ago, but I do know they had those little plans that would be maybe $35, $40 a month. Before the Affordable Care Act, I had my son, because I couldn't qualify for CHIPS. What is it here in Texas? Whatever the older kids get. I think it's CHIPS or something like that. And I bought some health plan from a provider that probably wouldn't qualify today according to the Affordable Care Act. But I'd probably skirt on the outside of that act and get something affordable. But if nothing else, I mean, do the Aflac things. They would, if you fairly healthy, these will cover if you land in the hospital or you have an accident. Because I hate to see you out here without insurance. And later on this month or the next month, we're also going to be doing some things dealing with life insurance and end of life arrangements. I want all my friends to participate and to come look at this. Simple things like, you say you're getting ready to buy a house, and let's say you have a child. I have a child. I go buy a house. I would really put half the house in my name. Was initially going to go all in mine, but then eventually I'll have his name added, so it goes to him. But I did not know that when I pass on, that I would think that the whole house would be his. That's not the way it is. Texas gets the half that I had, unless I specify through a will that it goes to him. So things of that nature, I want us all to know. And so, is there anything that I or the community can do to help make it easier for sex workers in society?
Number one is to respect that this is a job.
Okay.
Number two is to respect that women willingly do this job and allow them to have agency over their own decisions. They don't require sympathy. Number three would be, if you want to support sex workers, but you don't want to buy their services, you still donate to them. That's another misconception that I keep saying, is that in order to support your friends who have decided to go into sex work, you have to buy their content or their services, even if you're not interested. You can still donate to your friends if you want to support them.
Okay, so donate, cash donation. Okay.
There are plenty of sex workers who don't make a lot of money. A lot of it is based off of beauty standards and things of that nature. And so along with that comes privileges, like white privilege and pretty privilege and skinny privilege and things of those nature. The closer proximity you are to the Pamela Anderson types, the more money you're going to make. So it's important to understand that when you're looking at sex workers.
And before we started tonight, I was flipping through. I have a few Facebook pages because I stay in trouble and get in jail. And apparently this individual was that, and you could see she had the Botox lips and the bright blue eyes and just parts that weren't hers. So for those that exercise the natural beauty, they don't make as much as the plastic people, is what you're saying.
I would say, and this is a perfectly politically correct term, the bimboification, the women who get the oversized lips and the cheek fillers and the, bleach blonde hair and they look like Barbie dolls, that is an entire aesthetic look, and they usually do end up making more money than the natural beauties and society's less desirables, if that makes sense. People who are viewed as less beautiful will make less money.
And unfortunately, beauty has been defined as one thing when it really is a myriad of things. Okay, so I want you to tell me the truth now.
Oh, for sure.
If I got in the business, how much you think I can make? I'm a big girl. Think I can make some money?
That's a hard question. That's a hard question.
But don't plus size, aren't there plus sized sex workers?
Oh, definitely.
Do they not make good money?
They make good money as long as they've got their clientele list stacked up. They're making good money. It's about finding your audience.
Cause don't some men have preferences? Don't they have fetishes?
Oh, for sure. There are plenty of men that love plus size women.
We just have to find them. All right. So I don't think I've seen any questions posted, and I'm so sorry because I said I got in a little trouble, so that kind of hindered me doing things normally. But I sure do appreciate it. Are there any last things you want to share? Because I don't think I have any other questions. I asked about family, relationships, income. I do have one last question. When people ask you, what do you do? What do you say?
That depends on if I want to have a full conversation about what, or if I just want to pass by them. If I'm only going to see them for 5 minutes and I don't want to have an extended conversation, I'll tell them I'm a model. If these are people that I expect to see on a regular basis and expect to be friends with, I tell them straight up that I'm a stripper or a cam girl or whatever, whatever is my main source of income at that point in time.
When I asked you how much money you made initially, not tonight, but we've talked about it before, you said it as if you were, and I'm just going to, did I read it wrong? You sounded like you were a little ashamed or embarrassed. Was that true? Did you feel that?
I'm a little embarrassed money that I've made in the last year, because it's less than I usually make, but it's not bad money.
But you saw my list, right? And this is a list put together by educators of salaries. And you know you beaten this entire list, right? So I guess I don't want you to ever, ever, ever be ashamed of anything about you. I have watched you. You are dedicated and committed. You were built for this. And it's what you do. You work it. You're intelligent in doing it. I admire you. I really do. You've got your hustle on you, and you do it well. And with the utmost safety and intelligence. So again, I'm very glad our paths crossed. And so
Me too.
I want you to know that I support you.
Thank you.
And you don't ever have to be ashamed of anything that you do around me. Because the truth is, even those people that are judging you, everybody has a chapter of their novel they don't want read. Okay?
Okay.
Is there anything else you want the people to know?
I think that's it.
That's it. And I have no questions from the audience, but people are indeed watching this recording. They're watching this webinar. So again, I've asked you all, if you have any questions, to put them up there and we will pose them. Just keep your questions respectful. And I think they have, and I'm going to post this in key places where we see people had questions. And I agree with you. To attempt to regulate the industry is not fair, and that's not what's needed. Put it that way. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Anan, for sharing with us. If ever again you feel like you want to come back and do this, we can do it. All right.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You have nothing else you need to share?
I think that's it. Thank you for having me.
What'd you say?
I said, That's it. Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. Thank you. Because I know this was a lot. And again, I truly appreciate it. All right. So that being said, thank you all for joining us. And again, remember to respect the hustle. It is a genuine occupation that deserves that. It should not have the negative stereotypes and stigmas that it does. These are women that work every day like the rest of us, and men that work every day like the rest of us. And we should respect that. Thank you all for joining us. You all have a wonderful evening.